You are 12 years old. You are not a samurai yet. You carry no sword. You don't know the weight of armor. You don't know what it's like to see blood up close. You don't yet understand what it means to die with honor, because no one has ever died in front of you. You are 12 years old, and what you know is your father's voice. He is kneeling. Not the way you've seen before. This is a different kind of kneeling, the kind that diminishes a man while he does it. Spine bent, head down, palms flat against the cold wooden floor. On the other side, standing, is the feudal lord, the daimyo, the man who owns the land where you were born, where your father was born, where your father's father died serving. He says nothing. He just stares. And your father, the man you watched rise before the sun, work his hands until they bled, smile when the harvest came through, that man does not lift his head. You make a vow right there, at 12 years old, with no witness, no ceremony. I will never kneel like that. That promise is going to cost you everything. The feudal Japan you grew up imagining was not the real Japan. It was the Japan of stories, of poems recited by monks, of silk paintings showing warriors on white horses, a Japan where honor was pure, where a samurai was above all free, free because he had discipline, strong because he chose to serve. That was the version they sold you. You train. At 15, you wake before the sun every day. You run, carry weight, learn to hold combat stance for hours until your legs shake, but you don't sit, don't rest, don't complain, because a warrior doesn't complain. You have a friend. Call him Kenji. You trained together since childhood, grew up in the same village, endured the same winters. Kenji wants to be a samurai for the same reasons you do, not for war, but to belong to something greater than himself. You both still believe that belonging to something greater is a blessing.
You haven't yet discovered it can be a cage. At 17, you are accepted into service. Your mother cries. You never know if it's pride or fear, and there are years when you'd rather not know. You wear the armor for the first time, and it's heavier than you expected. Not just on your body, but you are smiling, because you still don't know what comes next. The first year in service has no battle. It has cleaning, waiting, carrying things from men who don't look at you when they speak, waking at 4 in the morning to stand outside a door while, on the other side, men of higher rank make decisions about land, taxes, lives, and none of those decisions have anything to do with honor. They have a lot to do with money. The samurai system has layers, and you are near the bottom. Son of a daimyo becomes a daimyo. Son of a high counselor becomes a high counselor. Son of a low-ranking samurai, you, stays exactly where his father was, no matter how many mornings he woke before the sun. That's not what the poems told you. Kenji is more honest than you about it. We serve the system. The system doesn't serve us, he says one night, 2 empty sake cups between you. You disagree out loud. You agree in silence. The Bushido speaks of loyalty, of righteousness, of honor. What the Bushido doesn't explain is what happens when loyalty and righteousness point in opposite directions, when being loyal means being dishonest, when following the code means breaking what you believe. They didn't teach you to deal with that. They taught you to obey. At 23, you see war for the first time. Nothing prepares you. Not the training, not the poems, not the veteran stories, which you now realize never described war with any real honesty. They described the part they could tell without their voice breaking.
The smell arrives before any image. Blood and mud and fear, which has its own smell, and fire and things burning that shouldn't be burning. Then the noise, the battle cry that in training seemed powerful here blends with dozens of other cries and metal on metal and much worse things. Together, it doesn't sound glorious. It sounds like chaos. You kill someone for the first time. He came at you with a spear and you reacted on instinct. And then he was on the ground and you were standing. And it had all lasted 4 seconds. 4 seconds to end a life. The battle lasts 4 hours. You survive. 32 men from your unit don't. You knew 17 of them by name. You had eaten with 6 of them the night before. No one gives you time to process it. There's already another order coming. The months that follow are slow erosion. marches and cold that cracks your skin, wounds that get infected, nights in the mud waiting for an attack that may or may not come, and the heaviest thing, the growing distance between the samurai you imagined being and the man you are becoming. Kenji is still with you, quieter now, eyes resting in wrong places for too long. You both know what the other is feeling without needing words. You anchor yourself in Kenji. You don't yet know it's dangerous to anchor in something that can be taken away. There is a specific moment when you stop being who you were. It's a gray afternoon. You are cleaning blood from your own arm, and you look at your reflection in the water basin. For 3 or 4 seconds, you don't know who the man in the reflection is. It's not a metaphor. Literally, you don't recognize the face. Then it passes. You remember, but those seconds stay with you. The 12-year-old boy who made that vow went away in small deaths over years. Each order obeyed, knowing it was wrong. Each friend buried without time to grieve. Each morning waking to do what needed to be done without asking if you wanted to.
You kneel now. Not the way your father did, but you kneel. To the system, to the hierarchy, to orders that arrive without explanation. The difference is that you kneel with the right expression. You've learned that conformity and dignity can coexist on the surface if you control your face well enough. That is not liberation. It's a sad skill. He's matured, your superiors say. What they call maturity, you call loss. But you don't have words for it. And even if you did, you wouldn't say them to anyone. At 30, you are good at what you do. Not gloriously good. The kind who solves problems others don't solve, who doesn't ask unnecessary questions, who delivers results without drama. The kind superiors call when the situation is sensitive. The kind who never appears in poems because his work isn't poetic. You carried out a mission that doesn't officially exist. You did what you were told to do, with loyalty, in a context where right and wrong were tangled in ways you'd stopped trying to separate years ago. And then the daimyo needed someone to blame. You were the explanation. There was no public trial, no formal accusation. There was rumor, the kind of dishonor that floats without a name, that changes how people look at you, that closes doors without anyone needing to say why. You had done exactly what you were ordered to do. That didn't matter. Kenji was the only one who stood by your side without hesitation. Kenji died 6 weeks later, in an ambush on a dirt road at night, by men who shouldn't have known which route you'd take. Someone on the inside had told. You never proved it, but you knew. The same way you know rain is coming before you see the clouds. He was alive when you found him. He said he was cold. You took the top of your armor off and covered him with it, even knowing it wouldn't help. You stayed with him until the end. His last words were not noble or poetic, just cold, just silence after.
The system you served with, total loyalty, betrayed you and killed the only man who stood by your side during that betrayal. And you keep serving, because what else? At 35, you have command, not because the system recognized you, because it needed someone reliable for a specific problem, and you were the most qualified still alive. You weren't promoted for merit, you were promoted for utility. You send a young man, 21 years old, son of farmers, first year in service, on a high-risk mission. There's no way around it. You look at him and see the 17-year-old you once were, smiling because he didn't know yet. He doesn't come back. You write to his mother with more care than you've put into any tactical report in your life. You rewrite it 3 times. You discard all 3 because none of them say what needs to be said without lying. The 4th version is true and incomplete. It's the best you can manage. The mother writes back, without anger, which is somehow worse than anger. She thanks you for treating him with respect. She says he spoke well of you. She says she always knew this day might come, but never thought it would hurt like this. You read that letter 12 times. You can't throw it away. The loneliness of command is a specific kind of loneliness. You are surrounded by people at all times, but there is no one you can speak to with complete honesty without calculating consequences. Kenji would have been that person. He was the only space where you could be who you were before all of this. You are 42 years old. The war reached some kind of resolution. Not victory, not defeat. Exhaustion on both sides. Negotiations nobody is satisfied with, but everyone accepts. You survived. You survived.
And that is the strangest thing you've ever had to deal with.
The Bushido you grew up following prepared you to die, live as though you were already dead. You internalized it so deeply that the future was always an abstraction. There was always the next battle, the next mission. Now there is no next battle, and the future, suddenly, is real. The sword is in the box. It wasn't a dramatic decision. One day it was on your belt, the next it was in the box, because there was no practical reason to carry it, and you realized you were carrying it out of habit, not necessity. You think about the 12-year-old boy, about the vow made without witness. I will never kneel like that. You wonder, honestly, if you kept it. You didn't kneel the way your father did, not in posture, not with visible shame, but you knelt in other ways, subtler and perhaps deeper, to the system you knew was wrong, to orders that cost lives, to the logic that belonging to something greater justifies everything that greater thing demands. The dark side of samurai honor is not the violence. Violence is obvious. Anyone can see it. Anyone can judge it. The dark side is the internal cost, the slow erosion of who you were as you became who the system needed you to be, the confusion between loyalty and submission, decades of detachment that became distance, discipline that became numbness. You pick up the mother's letter, reread it. She says, she always knew this day might come, but never thought it would hurt like this. You understand that differently now. She wasn't just talking about her son's death. She was talking about the gap between what she imagined and what happened, about the cost of trusting a system that treats lives like resources. If a 12-year-old boy, eyes lit up, full of the dream of becoming a samurai, asked you if it's worth it, what would you say? You wouldn't say no. That would be a lie. You wouldn't say yes without reservation. That would also be a lie.
You'd say go, because it will hurt and it will cost everything. But someone has to do it. Just go knowing the real cost, not the cost on the poems. The real cost is different, and no one will tell you beforehand. You close the box. It's not defeat, it's the gesture of a man who has reached the end of a chapter without knowing what comes next, but knowing that what came before is complete in some way. Not perfect, not clean, but complete. The light goes out, and in some distant village right now, there is a 12-year-old boy who watched his father kneel before a lord and is making a vow without a witness. He doesn't yet know what that vow will cost. He will find out. The journey begins again.